Good evening, and welcome to True Dougman Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please go and hit the button below. If you or you know anyone who has had a sighting, please contact me at Marvin Allen True Encounters. I would love to hear from you. Just to give y'all a few updates before I get into this encounter, I got my computer and I'm still trying to, learn how to upload everything onto that. So before I do all that, I'ma still, upload off of my phone because I got a lot of things that I've been working on, and I'm working with another colleague of mine, and we can ready come out with another channel. I'm not gonna really tell y'all what it's about, but it's still in the field of Doug, man. But it's gonna be a little better. I love and I miss you guys so much, and I hope that everyone and their loved ones are doing well and is healthy. I just been staying in the house. I've been really working on new encounters, getting new encounters, and plus trying to release some of the ones that I already have. Now, like I said, I do have my computer, got my camera, I got everything. The only thing that I didn't get right now is my microphone. So that's what I'm working on now to get. But, like I said, until I get my computer, up and running where I can upload all my videos onto that, because I want to give y'all better content, better quality. Like I said, it's getting ready to take off. We can ready to do some big things, and it's just not me, it's y'all too, because I can't do this without y'all. Like I said, if I go on this journey, I'm taking each and every one of y'all with me, and I just miss you guys so much because y'all have been so supportive. The comments that y'all on y'all feedback, man, it's been so positive, And like I said, man, I want to give y'all the best quality and best content that I can. Like I said, I don't know too much about these computers and how to upload stuff. So if you or you know anyone that know how to do these things, please contact me because I could really use the help. Like I said, we got a lot of good things in the work, far as now, our goal is to reach 1,000, which right now we almost at 900. So if you haven't, please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit the button below. Help me reach this mark, 1,000 subscribers. That's our goal right now, is 1,000. Like I said, because we got a lot of good things in the work. And now, this first eyewitness encounter that I'm going to be sharing with y'all, just to give y'all a little brief, background. This lady, she grew up in a small town. And when I talked to her, she said that she wasn't the type that believed in monsters. She said, but that would all change one weekend when she came face to face with one of these cryptids. So I hope you tune in and listen so you could get the rest of her sighting in her encounter. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into this first encounter. Like I said, this encounter right here come from a lady, and the name that I'm going to use is Miss D. Now, Miss D said she grew up in a small town. Now, the town she said that she lived in, the population wasn't a lot, but she lived it in a small town, It didn't have a lot of stores, She was still living in the same house that she grew up in. Now, her mother and father had passed away, so the house was left to her. So she said one weekend she did like she always do. She would get up, she would make her breakfast, she would eat. Then she said she would sit down and she would watch TV. A lot of times she would watch the news. So she said she watched the TV for a while. So she said she decided to go on a walk. This is something that she did all the time. She said she would decided to go on a walk. So she got herself together. She got up. She left out and she decided to just go on a walk. Now she said when you leave out her house, out the front, and you go down to the road, she said she would take this road all the way down. Because once she said she would go all the way down, she said that was a dead end. And down at this dead end, it was a trail that leads up in the woods, up through the tree line. So she said she used to take this trail all the time. So she said she walked on this trail. She started walking, just going for a walk. And she said while she was walking on this trail, she said she noticed that she would see, the wildlife in the area. She would see deers. She saw raccoons, squirrels, stuff like that. And she could hear, all the animal sounds. So she said after she walked for about 15 or 20 minutes, she said at first she didn't pay no attention. She said, but she noticed that the ambient noise just dropped. She said all of a sudden she couldn't hear no sounds. She said, but she didn't pay no attention. So she just continued to keep walking. But then she noticed that she didn't see no more animals. She said because as she would used to walk through this trail, she would always see some kind of some kind of animal. So she said she walking, and she said she heard some noise like rustling in the leaves, like a crunchy sound, like something was stepping on it. She said then she stopped. She said when she stopped, she started to look around, and she said when she looked around, she said that she held her head back and up. And she said she started to sniff. She said because she had smelled it, the foulest smell that she had ever smelled in her life. So she was saying to herself, is it something dead around here? So she looking. She don't see no dead animals or nothing like that. So something in her mind told her to turn around, leave, and go back home. She said, but she didn't. So she said she continued to walk some more. She said because as she walking through this trail would always lead her down to this little small creek. And she said she used to go there all the time, and sit on this old log that was down there, just to get a peace of mind. She said, but she never made it to that spot. She said, so as she walking, she said she came to about, she said she wasn't good with measurements. So she said she came to about 50 yards before she would have got to this creek. And she said she stopped. She said something stopped her. She said she didn't know why she stopped. She just had this feeling that she was being watched. By what and who? She didn't know. So she stopped. And she started to look around. She said, so as she was looking around, she heard those noises again. The leaves crunching, like something stepping on it. She said, then she looked over to the right, like on an angle, and she looked. She said she saw something dark stooping down behind a tree, But she didn't know what it was. But she knows she saw something dark stooping down behind a tree. And she looked. She said, and when she looked and she focused it in, she said she saw what looked like a dog to her. She said because it had all the appearance, the whole face, the head, looked like a dog. But she was saying in her mind that the head on this thing was much larger than any dog that she ever saw. She said, so while she's watching this thing, because she don't know what it was, she just think it's a dog. She said, so as she watching this thing, she said this thing started to come out on all fours. She said, and when she looked at this thing, she said this thing was huge, down on all fours. She said, but this thing, whatever it was, but she thinking it's a dog. She said this thing was, it was just built kind of funny. She said because the upper part of it was massive. She said this thing was huge. She said, and this thing just stared at her. She said it had the pointy ears, the snout. She said the upper part, it was just huge. And she looking at this thing. She said, and this thing looking at her. She said, then this thing, which she thought was a dog, she said it showed its teeth. And it started to growl. She said that's when she started to walk backwards down this trail, but keeping her eye on what she thought was a dog. She said the whole time that she walking backwards, this thing didn't move. It just watched her. It just stared at her. So she walking backwards, but then she stopped. And when she stopped, she said this thing did something that defied anything that she ever saw. She said this thing started to stand on its back legs. She said, and when this thing stood up on its back legs, she said this thing was just huge. She said this thing was tall. Now, mind you, she said when this thing was standing, she said it was like it was moving its joints. Like it was moving and stretching its legs and its shoulders. She said because she could hear popping sounds when this thing was doing this. So she's saying in her mind, what the is this? Is it a man dog? She said because the upper body, it looked at more human-like than dog-like. She said, but the bottom part, it had the legs of a canine, of a dog. So she watching this thing. She said, and as she was watching this thing, she said this thing arms was too long for its body, going past its knees. She said this thing had shoulders and everything. She said what really freaked her out, that this thing looked like it had hands. She said it didn't have no paws like a dog would supposed to have. She said what she saw in this thing looked like this creature had hands. She said, so while she watching this thing, and she's still standing there, she said this creature tilted its head back and it started to sniff the air. She said, and when this creature sniffed the air, she said it turned to its right real quick. She said it turned to its right. And when she looked over there in that direction, that would be facing her left side, she looked over there. She said she saw a mother deer with two fawns, two small ones. And it spotted them. And they just bolted. She said, and when those deers ran, she said this creature, it just took off so fast. She said she never saw something move that fast in her life. So she said she turned around, ran back down that trail, went back up the little street, and went in the house. She said she never called nobody. She never told nobody about what she saw, because she said she didn't want people to think that she was crazy. So she said a few days later, she was in the house. So she said she had made her something to eat, went in the front room, and she sat down and she decided to look at TV. She said, so after she finished watching TV, she was getting a little tired. And it's nighttime by then. Now, mind you, her house, everything is on one level. Everything is on one level in the house that she live in. So she said she goes in her room. She goes in there and, she goes to lay down. Now, she said in her room, she used to always sleep with her curtains open. She said this is something she always did, even when she was a little girl. So she said she's laying in the bed. She said she sleep with her curtains open, but she does not open her window. She said, but she's laying in the bed, with the curtains open. And, she said she falls asleep. She said, but something woke her. She said something woke her about 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said when she woke up, she sat up in bed and she looked at the window. She said she saw this dark figure. But what set out the most was those glowing yellow eyes. She said she had to rub her eyes because she thought she was seeing things. So she said she rubbed her eyes and she looks again. She said she still see this dark figure with these glowing yellow eyes. She said, so while she's watching this figure stand at her window, she said this thing then raised its hand. She said, and then this thing tapped on her window. She said it didn't tap hard. She said, but it tapped on her window like it knew what it was doing. So she's thinking in her mind, what do this thing want? Why is it here? Why is it bothering me? This is what's going through her mind because she don't know. So she continued to watch this creature. She said, so this creature's still tat-tat, tat-tat, tat-tat. It's still knocking on her window. So she still's watching this creature. She said, so she got and slid over to the side of her bed. She said, then she began to stand. She said, but when she was getting ready to stand up, she said that creature started to growl at her. She said, and it was a growl that put fear through her whole body. She said, because she could feel it. She said, so she sat down on her bed. She said, and when she did that, the creature stopped. She said like it was toying with her, like it was taunting her, like it was trying to scare her. But she said, and this is what she told me, she said it didn't have to try. She said because she was really scared. She said because she couldn't get up off the bed. She said so she tried it again. She said and when she tried it again, the creature did the same thing. It growled again. Then she sat back down. She said she got up. She sat up in her bed and she held her knees real tight. And she said she was rocking back and forth because she didn't know what to do. She just sat down and she said in her mind, she kept saying, please go away, please go away. She said she kept repeating this stuff, please go away. She said, and after about a few minutes, she looked up and she said that creature was gone. She said she couldn't go back to sleep no more that night. Because she said now, this thing know where she lived. So she said the next day, she was contemplating about calling someone and telling someone what she was going through. But she said a part of her still was saying that she didn't want to do it because people would judge her. And she thought that they would say that she was crazy. But she said she didn't have nobody to talk to. So she holding all this stuff up and letting it build up. So she said her best friend came over one weekend and she asked her, she said, why haven't you been calling me or something? She said, because I was going through a lot, and stuff like that. So she said, are you ready to take our walk today? So now she thinking in her mind that she want to go to that same trail that she used to go to, and sometime her friend, when she come over, to go down to that creek. So she said, no, not today. She said, come on. You know why I came over here. This is something that we always used to do when I come. So please, don't do me like that. Let's go for our walk. So she said she had to pull everything that she had inside of her to say, okay. She said, so they packed a light lunch, something to drink. And they continued to leave out the house, go down the dead-end street, and continue to walk through the trail. So she said, as they walking, just like she said, the weeks before, they saw the wildlife and stuff like that. But this time, they made it to the creek. So they sat down. Said they were sitting down talking, and then, they ate, wrapped up everything, and they sat down and talked for a while. But it was still daylight outside. She said, but it wasn't too far before it was getting ready to get dark. So she told her friend, she said, you ready to head back? She said, yeah, just a few more minutes. She said, I just like it here because it's so peaceful, and this is a place that, we used to always come and get away. She said, I know. She said, but it's getting ready to get dark and I want to be back home, before it get dark. And she said, why are you acting like that? You act like something is wrong, And so while her friend was still talking and going off at her mouth, she noticed that the noise stopped again. Couldn't hear nothing. So she said, she told her friend, hold up, please be quiet. And she said, be quiet for what? She said, listen. So her friend said, listen to what? She said, that's just it. You can't hear nothing. She said, remember when we was coming down here, we could hear the wildlife, we could hear the animals, we could hear the birds chirping. She said, now we can't hear nothing. She said, okay, maybe they left the area. She said, no, they didn't leave no area. She said, I'm telling you, it's something wrong. She didn't come out and tell her friend what she saw. She just told her that something was wrong. She said, and I think we need to leave. So she said, okay, I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know why you acting like that, but okay. She said, so they started getting their stuff together. That's when Dee said she hears something across this creek on the other side. She hear a branch crack. She hear a branch break. And she told her friend, she said, did she hear that? She said, yeah, I hear it. Maybe some animal stepped on a stick or something. She said, no. No, that wasn't what it was. So D looking over there while her friend gathering all the stuff up. So D's looking over there. She said, and when she look over there, she sees that creature again. Step from behind a tree, bipedal on two legs. And it's looking right over in their direction. And when she tell her friend, she say, look, I don't want you to scream. I don't want you to make no noise. She say, please. But it's something on the other side of that creek. So she grabbed her friend by the arm. She say, look at me. Promise me you won't scream. So she said, I promise. She said, because our life depends on this. So she said, turn around slow and look on the other side. So she turned around slow and she looked over on the other side. And what she saw made her drop everything that she had in her hands. And she said, what the? And D hurried up and put her hands over her friend's mouth. She said, I told you, please. Don't be loud. Don't make no noise. So she took her hand off her friend's mouth. And they watching this creature. She said that's when this creature came up out the tree line and stood at the beginning of this creek and it's watching them. But they don't move. And her friends say, what the hell is that? And they say, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. She said, I think we need to leave. She said, so they start to leave back out the trail. She said, and when they did that, that creature took a few steps from the edge of that creek and then stopped. And they stopped. And they said, I think this creature is after us. I'm scared to move. What we gonna do? So now they stuck. They don't know what to do. They can't run. They can't scream. So they had a standstill with this cryptid. So they both watching this thing. And this thing is watching them. They said then this creature took a few more steps and it stopped again. Now they confused. They don't know where to go. They don't want to run because they know this creature can catch them. They know this creature can do harm just by the massive size of this cryptid. So they said, while they still watching this thing, Dee's friend holds her head down. And she said she started to pray because that was her last resort. She said she didn't know what else to do. She said so she started to pray to a higher power. She said so she held her head down and she started to pray. But Dee continued to watch this creature. So while her friend was praying, she said this creature, it started to move a funny way and it started to growl. She said, then it just turned around and it took one leap and leaped back over on the other side of that creek. Turned around and it looked at them again. They said, and it made out this loud, horrible noise, man, that you could hear for miles. It said, then it turned her back around and it just ran up through the tree line. They said this thing was running so fast that it was knocking down. It seemed like it was knocking down trees, branches. They said this thing made noise like if a bulldozer was going through. She said then they turned around and they went back home. When they got back to D house, her friend said, we need to tell somebody about what's out here in these woods. And D said, I'm scared. There's no one that's gonna believe us. If we told them we saw a werewolf running around in these woods, what do you think these people gonna call us? What do you think they're gonna say? So her friend said, I love you, but I'm not gonna come back over here as long as I know those things are around here. I just can't do it. You just gonna have to come to me. So D said, I love you too, and I don't blame you. So if that's what you want to do, then do what's best for you. And she told D, she said, I think you need to move. And D said, I'm not going anywhere. This house has been in my family for a long, long time. And I'm not going to let this thing run me away. So after they finished talking, her friend left because now it's dark. Her friend left, went home. D said she stayed up all night thinking, contemplating about what she should do. So she said that she had found a guy that knew about these creatures. And she said when she talked to this guy, she asked him, she said, I want you to come out, on my property because I need to talk to you about something, but don't bring anyone. Please don't bring anyone. Come by yourself. She said, so that's what this guy do. So the guy, he comes over there. So she says she tells this guy what she saw. And this guy said that he had been doing a little investigation on these creatures. So he asked her if she could take him to the spot where she saw it at. So she agreed to. So they went out, went down the road to the dead end, went up in the trail, and she showed him the spots that she saw this creature in. So he walking around, she said he was looking for any kind of evidence. She said so when he crossed it over on the other side of the creek where this creature was standing at, he said that he noticed, scratch marks in the tree. Like something was scratching on the tree. She said, but he said that these marks was way too high up. She said he had measured it and everything. Said it was like 10 to 12 feet where he saw these scratch marks at. So he looked around and just tried to see all the evidence that he could see, if he could get hair, whatever. So they leave. They go back to the house. So he asks her, he says, is it okay if I bring a couple of guys out here? So she said, no, I don't want nobody on my property. I only called you to find out if there's anything that you could tell me about these creatures. How do I deal with them? how do I live with this creature? Because I'm not moving. You know, so he said that if you let me come out here with some more guys and, you know, spend the night out over here, then maybe I can find out, you know, a pattern of where these creatures coming from, if they coming from another area and coming down on your property or whatever. Basically, she said she think that he was trying to shoot and kill this creature. So she felt bad about even telling him. So she told him, she said, look, just leave. Don't come back on my property no more, because I'm going to be forced to call the police. So he left. And she said she used to stay up night after night just to see if this guy will come back and come back on her property. She said, but he never did. So she said things died down for about a month and a half. So then she said one day she was sitting out back. Said she was sitting out back. Now, mind you, she said she got a lot of land. You know, she owned a lot of land down there. So she said she was sitting out back. She was sitting out back, you know, drinking a cup of tea, she said. And she was just you know, just watching the surrounding area. You know, she said she would watch the deers come down, you know, and you know, eat and stuff like that. And she would watch them to come back and forth. She said, but one day when she was sitting out there, just this particular day that she was sitting out there, she said that a deer was down and it was like it was just grazing. She said that she noticed that the deer turned real fast and then looked. She said then it bolted. It just ran. It just ran straight through her yard, through the front, like it was going on the other side. She don't know which way it went. She said, so then she turned back and she said she watched the tree line. She said she seen that same black creature come out on all fours, chasing right after this deer. She said this thing didn't pay her no attention. It just bolted right behind that deer. She said, so after that creature got past her house, she got up, went back in the house. She locked all her doors. She locked all the windows. She said she went in her room and she sat in the bed. She said she sat in the bed and she cried. She said because she was so scared, she don't know what to do. This lady is confused. She didn't know what to do. She said so she cried herself to sleep. She said the next day, she called her sister. And she said her sister stayed about 40 miles from her. And she asked her if it was okay if she could come over there and stay for a while. And her sister said, why? What's wrong? She said, nothing. I just want to come and stay with you for a while. I'll tell you when I get there. So she said she packed up a couple of her things and she went and she stayed with her sister. And she's still with her sister now. You know, she haven't even went back home. So that was Miss D's story. And this lady, man, when I got her encounter, man, it was just, I felt it. It's like I could feel what she went through, you know, because it's like this Doug, man, won in the end. It's like it got what it wanted. Yeah, I scared you enough that you left your own home, you know, and I just feel for it, man, because I don't think these creatures should be hunted or nothing like that. I know they want to be left alone, but it's just crazy the way that they scared people, man. It's just crazy of the things that they do. And it's just senseless, man. And I had asked her a few questions when I talked to her. I said, what did this thing really look like to you when you got a good look at it? She said it was just it looked like a black wolf. A black wolf with a humongous head, the long snout, the pointed ears, those yellow eyes. They said this thing had broad shoulders, long arms like it was too long for its body, with hands, and it had the dug-like legs. She said, but she done had so many nightmares about this creature. She said she just had sleepless nights, man. And I told her anytime that she want to talk, she has my information. She can call me anytime. I'm here for her, and I'm going to listen to her. Because, like I said, I want to find out what these creatures are, man, and what makes them do the things that they do. So I was just happy to get her encounter. She shared it with me, and it was a blessing for me to share it with y'all. So, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see y'all on the next Doug Man True Encounters. Good night.